Good morning, friends. In today's session, we are going to have a look at the plot analysis of a play, A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. The desire for well-matched love and the struggle to achieve it drives the plot of A Midsummer Night's Dream. The play opens on a note of desire as Theseus, Duke of Athens, waxes poetic about his anticipated wedding to Hippolyta. The main conflict is introduced when troubles take center stage. The question of who the characters should love versus who they do love drives the plot from this point on. The audience may immediately understand that Hermia and Lysander belong together, as do Helena and Demetrius, but the characters' inability to pair with the appropriate partner and the fairies' interference complicate the conflict. Mirroring the drama among the Athenian nobility, the monarchs of the fairy kingdom also find themselves in a lover's tiff. Hoping to teach Titania a lesson, Oberon instructs the fairy puck to apply a charm that will make Titania and Demetrius each fall in love with the next person they see. Lysander, under the spell of the fairies, abandons Hermia for Helena. Demetrius also falls in love with Helena, and Titania falls in love with Bottom, who now has the head of a donkey. Oberon's jealousy mirrors the pettiness of the human characters, suggesting emotions like love, jealousy, and the desire for revenge are universal. Instead of solving the human lover's problems, fairy mischief make the lover's problems worse, transforming friendships into rivalries. Helena and Hermia, childhood friends, become enemies, and Demetrius battles with Lysander for Helena's affections. The play quickly dissolves from a love story to a story of hatred and ill will, with all the characters fighting the people they once loved. The quickness with which characters fall in love with each other and the ease with which they dissolve friendships raises questions about the fickleness of emotional attachment. The action reaches a crisis point once all the characters have been separated from their appropriate partners and the complications are at their limit. At this point in the play, no one is happy except Bottom, who enjoys Titania's affections, but the rest of the characters have been made miserable by love. Even Helena, who now is being pursued by both Lysander and Demetrius, thinks they are playing a crucial trick on her. In this way, the play explores the many ways love can bring about unhappiness as well as joy. With the tension rising among the Athenian lovers and the night pushing towards dawn, Oberon orders Puck to reverse Lysander's enchantment and set things right among the lovers. By the dawning of a new day, the night and its discord has resolved. Lysander, free of Puck's enchantments, falls back in love with Hermia, while Demetrius remains enchanted and in love with Helena. Helena's father agrees to accept Lysander as a match for his daughter. Both the internal and external obstacles between the lovers have been removed, and the stage is set for weddings for all couples. The case with which the events of the night dissolve in the light of day suggests that nothing that has come before should actually be taken seriously. However, the events of the play do make us question the depth and sincerity of the lovers' devotion, especially since Demetrius only loves Helena as a result of Puck's enchantment. Meanwhile, the mechanicals have been preparing to perform their adaptation of the tragedy of Pyramus and Thisbe for the Duke and his bride-to-be. Shakespeare views this plot thread throughout the entire play so that bumbling attempt of these unrefined commoners to rehearse a high tragedy unfolds against the backdrop of play's tangle of erotic confusion. This melding of tragedy and comedy reinforces the sense that none of the action should be taken seriously and that matters of the heart are ultimately of little consequence. By having the comical mechanical stand in for tragic lovers, Shakespeare pokes fun at the tragic genre, including his own Romeo and Juliet. We also understand that just as the mechanical play is ridiculous nonsense, all the action we are watching on stage is little more than a dreamlike fantasy. The play closes with Puck reassuring the audience, think you have but slumbered here, while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme, no more yielding but a dream. This is the plot analysis of a play, A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Now we'll talk about the protagonist. As a comedy featuring an ensemble cast of characters, A Midsummer Night's Dream lacks an obvious protagonist. The action of the play shifts between three primary groups, and each of these groups, the Athenian nobles, the fairies, and the craftsmen, plays a crucial role in the story. That said, it is possible to argue that Hermia, Helena, and Lysander represent the play's protagonist. Ultimately, the play is most concerned with securing proper love matches for, for these three characters and ends with all of them happily married to the appropriate partner. Hermia, Helena, and Lysander all know what they want from the start of the play. Hermia and Lysander openly profess their love for each other, and although Demetrius doesn't return her affection, Helena feels sure of her love for Demetrius. Over the course of the play, Hermia, Lysander, and Helena must struggle against external forces undermining their affections. They fight against the patriarchal law of Athens and against the fairy mischief that besets them in the forest. By the end of their wild night in the forest, after fairy magic sets the love pairs aright and Theseus accepts the new couplings, everyone to return safely and happily to Athens. Now we'll talk about the antagonist. Just as Midsummer lacks an obvious protagonist, it also lacks an obvious antagonist. Identifying the play's antagonist seems especially difficult since so many characters act in antagonistic ways toward each other. However, if the play's clearest protagonists are Hermia, Helena, and Lysander, and if the play is ultimately about making their love possible, then the clearest antagonists are those who most directly stand in the way of their love. The characters directly thwarting Hermia, Helena, and Lysander are Aegeus, Theseus, and Demetrius. These three characters conspire to break the amorous bond between Hermia and Lysander and also deny Helena her heart's desire. The play opens with angry Aegeus angry that Hermia disobeys his command to marry Demetrius. Aegeus asks Theseus to intervene and the Duke threatens Hermia with punishment in the event of her continued disobedience. Demetrius is perhaps to greatest antagonist. Demetrius is perhaps to greatest antagonist of all, since it was his change of heart from Helena to Hermia that initiated all of the drama with Aegeus and Theseus and caused Helena's suffering. Only after fairy magic reunites Demetrius with Helena can the crisis that opened the play be resolved. Once the happy lovers return to Athens, Theseus puts the matter to rest. Only Aegeus, now powerless and still dissents. This is about antagonist. Now we'll come to the setting of A Midsummer Night's Dream. A Midsummer Night's Dream takes place partly in the city of Athens and partly in the forest that lies beyond the city's walls. This split between city and forest is thematically significant. The city of Athens is depicted as a place of civilization, law, and order, while the forest is a place of wildness, anarchy, and chaos. As if to underline the idea of Athens as a place of law and order, the play opens with Aegeus bringing a legal dispute before Theseus. As Duke of Athens, Theseus stands as the city's chief legal authority. His primary responsibility is to uphold the law, which he attempts to do when he rules that Hermia must obey her father and marry Demetrius instead of Lysander. In contrast to this display of Athenian rule of law, the forest appears decidedly unruly, which is to say, ruled by fairy mischief. The forest is a place where social norms break down, as exemplified in the increasing chaos and confusion that afflicts the Athenian lovers as well as Titania and Nick Bottom. Even as Shakespeare sets up an opposition between city and forest, the events of the play complicate this opposition. Athens supposedly symbolizes civilization, and its system of law and order indicates a degree of rationality. Yet, the grim punishment Theseus threatens in the event of Hermia's disobedience seems completely out of proportion for her crime. Her crime, after all, is simply loving Lysander, a man, it should be noted, who possesses a similar status as her father's favorite, Demetrius. Considering that from a socio-economic perspective, the two rivals are well matched, it makes rational sense that Hermia should be able to marry whichever suitor she wants. Thus, Aegeus and the patriarchal law he cites can be seen as cruel, uncivilized, and irrational. A similar reversal occurs in the case of the forest. The forest is a space marred by chaos, and indeed, lots of chaotic events occur in the forest over the course of the play. Yet, these events have the unexpected result of restoring proper order among the young lovers, ensuring them all a safe return to Athens. Where Athenian law and order fails, forest mischief ultimately succeeds. This is all about the setting in A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the next lecture, we will have the look at the motifs in a play. Thank you.